Hello ladies, welcome back to my channel. In case you're new here, my name is Simone and I talk all things femininity, how to nourish it, how to step into it. And in this video, we are talking about hyper-independence. Why we are talking about hyper-independence is because it will be a block to your feminine energy if you have this. What hyper-independence is exactly what it sounds like. It is when you are way too when you're way too independent, you rely way too much on yourself, you feel afraid to ask for help, you feel ashamed to ask for help, you don't know how to express your vulnerability to certain people. And obviously this becomes a problem because when you do all of those things, what you are doing is you're closing yourself off, you're closing your emotions off, and you're keeping everything inside. And when you keep emotions inside of you, what happens is they stagnate. And you have to get that emotion out somehow. And when you do, that is when you are able to step back into your feminine energy. And we are going to talk about how to let those emotions out, and I will explain everything later. But for right now, I'm just going to tell you different ways that hyper-independence can manifest in your life, and then how it manifested in my life. So if you think that you struggle with hyper-independence, I mean, you clicked on this video, so most likely you do. And what it can look like for most people, I think, is perfectionism, trying to seek your worth from being a perfectionist, from doing every single thing right, and never feeling like you are enough. Like you are enough at your worst, quote unquote, when you are feeling sad, lonely, depressed, and you never feel like you are enough then, so you try to compensate for it by proving yourself worthy by being a perfectionist. Something else I have noticed with hyper-independence is that it makes you feel very lonely. It makes you feel lonely because you rely way too much on yourself to get things done, to self-soothe, and sometimes these self-soothing methods that you are using are actually harming you rather than being healthy and helpful and productive, getting you forward in life. Sometimes they're setting you back, but you don't know this because maybe you're too scared to ask for help from a therapist or too scared to talk about your feelings with a close, trusted one. Those are two main ways, and the third main way is a fear of intimacy, which is basically what I just said, when you are too afraid to go to a therapist or talk about your feelings to anyone. Now, why hyper-independence pushes you into your masculine and verging on the wounded feminine is because you are just trying to get everything done by yourself. Girl, you need support in life. So do men. But women especially, we are, as females, we are naturally more intuitive. We are naturally more receptive to other people's energy. And I mean, on a biological standpoint, we have a cycle where our hormones fluctuate throughout the entire month. If you think you can handle all of that by yourself, you are wrongfully mistaken. You need support from women. You need support from your family. You need support from your coaches, your teachers, whoever in life. You need support as a woman. You cannot do it all on your own. Trust me. You will burn out quickly and it will not be fun. So how it manifested in my life was disruption in the balance between my schoolwork and my social life. Now, when I was a very little kid, I used to have these very bad temper tantrums. And because of that, I would have to be taken out of the classroom by my teachers, and then at home when I would have temper tantrums, it would be late at night and my parents would take me in the basement to decompress and calm me down so that I would stop screaming. And of course I understand that now, but 7-year-old me, when those temper tantrums were happening, they happened for probably like 3 years, outbursts in public. I did not understand that that was the best option to do. I saw that as thinking of it as my emotions are not worthy here. My emotions are not worthy of being seen by people. I am not worthy of having my needs met. I don't even know what my needs are. I'm 7 years old. Why is this happening to me? And the fact that I was taken out of classrooms, it made me feel very ashamed to express myself, to express my raw emotions. And because of that, I became very quiet after. Why? Because during those years when I was 7 to 10 years old, when I had temper tantrums in public, that made me feel ashamed to express myself, period. It didn't matter how, but period, I felt ashamed. The only safe place that I felt safe when I got older was my room, was when I was alone. That was when I felt safe to just be my fun self, like giddy, playful. I never showed that side of myself to anyone, except a few close friends, but it always happened in my room. I always wanted to be in my room. And so that carried on until like high school. And you can imagine how isolating myself in my room would eventually manifest into hyperindependence, because by isolating myself, I was not engaging socially with people. And when you don't practice something over time, your brain forgets how to do it, and it becomes scared of it even. So it was scary for me to talk to people. It was scary for me to talk to my own friends in class, to ask to go out with my friends, to ask to have friends over. I was just scared to interact, kind of. And then this manifested into social anxiety, where I would feel afraid, very afraid to be in social settings where the main purpose of that social setting was to socialize. So school was a big one for that. And then parties, I didn't like going to them a lot because I had so much social anxiety. And why was that? It was because of my hyperindependence. It was because I could not ask for help when I needed it. I didn't know how to lean on my friends when I felt certain emotions that I didn't feel worthy of them being seen. And what does that travel back to? When I was 7 to 10 years old, having those temper tantrums and was dragged out of class, because I still had that mindset that 7-year-old me had, that my emotions are not worthy here and I should hide them. That traveled all the way up until high school, where I did not feel worthy of having any type of my emotions seen. It didn't matter if they were good or bad. It was just a very lonely and isolating place for me during that time. And I know that if you are going through hyperindependence right now, it most likely feels very lonely. It probably feels very similar to how I felt. And the whole thing that we want to do with hyperindependence and stepping out of that, stepping into more communities, building more trust, is teaching yourself that you are worthy of being seen in any state that you are in. Whether you are angry, sad, happy, excited, whatever the emotion is that you are feeling, it is worthy of being seen. You best believe, and we're gonna make you believe that. The first question that you are going to ask yourself, if you suspect that you have hyperindependence, is you are going to ask, how does that look in my life? In what aspects of my life am I being too reliant on myself for? So this can be in your schoolwork. Maybe, like I said in the beginning of this video, you feel like you have to be a perfectionist and that you will gain worth from people in that way if you get really good grades. Maybe you are being hyper independent in the sense that you don't know how to lean on your friends. You don't know how to have friends. You don't know how to ask for help from your friends or your advice. And it's because you are afraid of showing them that vulnerable side of you. Maybe it is a problem with your relationship struggles. Maybe you have a partner where you feel like you are relying way too much on yourself to get things done around the house, to make money for the house. And maybe it's just a problem in the relationship in general, where you feel like you are putting in way too much effort and your partner is not reciprocating. But you do not feel worthy of expressing that to your partner because you do not feel worthy of having your needs met. Those are all examples of what hyperindependence can look like to different people, but like I said, we are all unique. It manifests in different ways. For me, it manifested with my social life and feeling worthy, expressing my vulnerabilities. So ask yourself, what does hyperindependence look like in my life? What aspects is it present in? Once you figure that out, you are going to ask yourself why. These things don't just happen because we are human beings and it is natural for us to want to connect with people. So it is unnatural for you that you do not want to connect with someone, that you do not want to show your vulnerabilities, that you don't feel safe. Why is it that you do not feel safe to express those things about yourself to other people? Why is it that you feel that you have to get a certain grade to be worthy of your parents' affection and love? And it's most likely rooted in your childhood. It 99% of the time, these patterns that we have, they're rooted from things in our childhood. That's not an actual statistic, but that's what I find in my life, and I think it's very much the same for a lot of people. Because when you were a child, you don't think about these things logically, because we are very egocentric as children, so we make everything about us, no matter if it's bad or good. So if your parents are fighting and you're a child, you are going to assume it is because of you, even if the conversation has nothing to do with you. So ask yourself why this happened, and ask yourself more specifically, when did this start? Like, what do you think is the root of it? Maybe it's a specific memory, maybe it was a person saying something to you, maybe it was you going to ask for help when you were younger and they said no. Like, they just did not help you, and maybe you're just afraid of asking for help because you feel unworthy of it now. So whatever it is, there's always a reason for it. It doesn't just happen like that. So become very curious, very introspective into why and how these behaviors happen. Okay. Alrighty. Now for the actual steps, how to get into a more community-based, a more vulnerable state with your friends. We are going to talk about how to step out of hyperindependence. So, if this is for my people that have hyperindependence and also suspect having social anxiety with that hyperindependence, like similar to my case, this is how I got out of it. So the first thing I did was self-work or inner work, whatever you want to call it. And that is basically what I was just talking about before, when it's evaluating your past, your childhood, certain behaviors that you have today that are rooted in your childhood, that are rooted in negative beliefs you hold about yourself. The main negative belief I held about myself was that my emotions are not worthy. I should feel ashamed of my emotions because they cause a disruption. Now, sweetie, I'm expressing myself whether you like it or not, okay? I'm gonna do it in an elegant way, not to hurt anyone's feelings, but if it hurts someone's feelings, oh well. We'll deal with that later. So that was the first thing I did, and it helps because it really teaches you about how you were raised. And when you figure out how it was you were raised, whether it was your parents that formed those beliefs for you, or your teachers, or your friends, or bullies in school, when you learn about all of those people, you learn that the beliefs that you hold are from those people in your upbringing. It's really not you if you think about it. And you have the ability now, once you evaluate those beliefs that you held from when you were a child, you now have the ability to create new beliefs. And isn't that amazing? It's beautiful that we can do that. And you can create those new beliefs, and you can actually practice them in life. So that is the first step I would recommend for anyone with hyperindependence. The second step, this one is specific. I think I said this for the first step, but I meant to say this for this step, but this step is specific for those that struggle with social anxiety as well. And it is to meet new people. Most likely, if you have social anxiety and hyperindependence, you are staying home a lot. We need to get you outside of that comfort zone. Trust me, it's scary. I know. I used to stay in my room all the time except for when I had to go to school or work. But even just going to work, it made me meet new people, and I had to start talking to them, and then soon enough, as you know it, like, we're laughing together, we're having a jolly old time, and it just becomes a vibe. Like, there can be so many good things that come out of meeting a new person. Maybe a job opportunity pops up, maybe you meet a new person through that new person, and you guys are like this now, and you would have never met that best friend that you have if it were not for putting yourself out there. But like I said, if you do not have any obligations at all, like you don't have work, you don't have school, maybe it's summertime and you're doing nothing and you don't really interact with your family a lot. I know that was a huge downtime for me. Like, when I felt really sad, it was during summer, because I used to never do anything and just stay alone to myself. And it was a really sad time, because summer was when you were supposed to interact with people, have fun, and I didn't know how to do that. Why? Because I was in my masculine energy way too much, and a lot in my wound in feminine as well. So yes, when you meet new people, whether it is from a job opportunity or going back to school, or maybe you just go out into a cafe and you go to meet new people. Like, you just walk up to people and give them a compliment, a genuine compliment, and you just say, I really admire that about you. Would you be interested in getting coffee again, or going out to lunch sometime, maybe going on a run or a walk? Do things, suggest things that you really enjoy doing. Because when you do that, you can become not only friends with this person and build a new relationship, but you can also just enjoy what you already enjoy doing, but with the company of another. And when you enjoy what you're doing and you're not just doing it for the sake of meeting a new person, then you have fun doing it, most likely. And I know it's going to be scary, but you have to get out of your comfort zone. That is the biggest thing with hyperindependence. Just gonna close this. Okay. Also, when it comes to meeting these new people, you cannot be afraid to chase them. Today, I think way too many people are afraid to go after who they want to be friends with, who they want to be in a relationship with. They're just afraid to express interest. I know I struggled with that a lot, especially having social anxiety and being hyper independent. But if you are trying to break out of these habits, you need to chase people. You need to chase people like your life depends on it, all right? That's what I was doing. And sometimes it's humbling, sometimes it's embarrassing because people don't reciprocate, but that's all a part of the learning experience of what you like in a person, as a friend, as a peer, as a partner, love interest. What gets you excited about life? And what do you want in someone close to you that can support you? Like, what does support look like to you? Because that is a big thing that you need to consider when you are coming out of hyperindependence. Because when you're too hyperindependent, you are not looking for support from other people. So when you are texting these people to follow up on when you met them, be lighthearted. Don't overthink about the texting. I know this is huge for people with social anxiety, but it's really not that deep. I used to think it was so deep, and sometimes I used to play down my excitement about them, and I used to try to be so nonchalant. Again, that was me going back to 7-year-old behavior mindset of my emotions are too much for people to handle. They're unworthy of being seen, and I would try to just be nonchalant over text, and that would actually drive most people away, because when you're nonchalant, when you try to intentionally read people's messages later than when you see them to try to seem like cool or busy, it can actually steer people away. So be authentic in your texting. be sporadic, enthusiastic. Now when I text my friends, I don't even know what's gonna come out of my mouth. I don't. But it makes it fun, it makes it exciting and unknown. And that's what feminine energy is. It's exciting. Alrighty. Similar to that, with meeting new people, also try new things. The reason that this helps you come out of hyper-independence and can also help you step into your feminine energy is because you learn that it is okay to make mistakes. You learn that it is safe to make mistakes, that mistakes can actually help you and that they make you grow. So it's very similar to meeting new people, because if you meet a new person and you're hoping to start a new friendship with them, maybe they don't feel the same way. And you have to learn that that is okay, that that does not affect your worth as a human being, as a woman. It just means that you guys weren't a match, and that's fine, because there are plenty of other people out there that will be a match for you. So some new things that you can try, it all depends on what you do already, but I would definitely recommend things that get your body moving. So it could be trying a new workout class, for example. Or maybe you do like bungee jumping. Guys, I'm not trying to kill you or put you in any danger, or boxing maybe. But doing things that move your body is very good for you, especially if it's new, and especially if it's with a group that you don't know anyone in. I think this is really good because, as I was saying in the beginning of this video, when you are hyper independent and you have social anxiety, most likely you are not getting any emotions out, any of the negative emotions at least. Why? Because you don't express them. So when those emotions get trapped in here, you're not going to be able to flourish. You're not going to be able to show up authentically as who you are, because you have so much energy that you're holding inside of you. So what you can do with that energy is release it. And how do we release energy? By physical movement. We release it by crying as well. We release it by yelling. Obviously, like, yelling isn't the best if you're doing it at someone. Maybe you go out to the hill maybe you go up to the top of a mountain and you just scream. That would be good. But don't yell at other people, like, if you're doing it in a mean way. No. Laughing, you get your energy out. Talking. Do something that is making you feel like you are seeing those parts of yourself that you have been holding on to for so long, and that you are actually releasing them, doing something with them. Because there is this practice called somatic therapy, and it is basically what I'm just telling you. It's about getting those emotions out that are trapped inside of your body, because we do hold emotions in our body, because emotions are energy in motion. And when we don't use those, when we don't express those emotions, it's energy that we are holding inside of ourselves. So we need to let out that energy that we are holding on to in order to allow more things into our life. Okay. Now, if you are hyper independent, but you don't so much have the social anxiety aspect present in your life, the best thing you can do is learn to be vulnerable with your friends. I know this is scary. All of this is scary, what I'm telling you, because it's all new. The only reason that things are scary is because it is new to you, to how you practice life, to how you believe life to operate about. But you don't have to be scared of it, because it can actually really help you. It can help you in those tough times where you feel like you are suffering and you don't have anyone to talk to about it, because you don't feel safe asking for help. You don't feel like you will be accepted if you show up as that version of yourself that is scared, that is afraid, that is ashamed, that feels guilty. You don't know how to feel accepted for being all of those things, when really you are not your emotions. Your emotions are an energy that you can take on, but they do not define you. And I think that is a huge misconception that people with hyperindependence have, is that they are those emotions. So for me, being vulnerable with my friends, it was hard. But after my breakup, with my boyfriend in my last video, I talked about how he cheated on me. That was when I reached a point where I was like, okay, I need someone to talk to about this because this is insane. And I was also just really sad and confused. I didn't know what to feel. And I just went over to their house and they just welcomed me with open arms and were hugging me and letting me cry. And that felt so amazing to me. I truly think that is when I learned to be vulnerable with my friends, and they taught me that it was okay to show up like that I didn't have to hide those emotions, that I could just cry, and it felt like such a release. And that helped me tremendously in my healing journey from that breakup, and it made me so much stronger. So I'm so grateful that I had them during that time. And this has also helped me in small ways where I can just talk to them about anything that is weighing on my mind, anything I feel stressed about, anxious, unworthy. I can tell them anything and I know they will not judge me. And even if they were to judge me, I wouldn't care. And you should not either, because it does not change your worth as a human being. Okay, so if you are still not comfortable being vulnerable with your friends or with your family members and talking and crying with them in that way, or maybe it's just being vulnerable in the sense that you laugh with them and over stupid things that you wouldn't feel so sophisticated about, like you wouldn't feel comfortable about laughing with those things with other people. Why? Because it feels dumb. But that's what makes life fun. It really is. But if you are uncomfortable doing that with friends and family, the two people you can look to are yourself and God. God or any higher power. You can look to yourself by doing this, by allowing yourself to feel whatever emotion you want to feel. You can literally be alone in your room and reflect on things that you have been holding on to, that are stored in here. Emotions that are stored in here that you need to release. And this is such a beautiful reset for your feminine energy, and it lets you step into your feminine energy once you learn how to release all of that. And the main way that we release that is through crying. It's just through it's like a purge. It's beautiful. The other person or figure is God. And the reason why God has helped me so much with my hyper-independence is because the main thing with my relationship with God is trust. And trust is a huge restriction that people with hyper-independence have. They don't know how to trust. So with God, the whole thing is just putting my blind faith in him and trusting that he has my best intentions at heart, that he does not want to be malicious towards me, that everything that I perceive as bad is actually good, is actually either protecting me or is teaching me a valuable lesson that I need to learn, that is going to keep on happening until I learn it. That he is making me suffer now because it will make me stronger later on for someone else or for myself in the future. And it's having that type of mindset where it is more of a positive outlook as opposed to, why does this always happen to me? Why am I suffering? I don't deserve this. When you have that outlook with God, you just become naturally more grateful. And you have to trust him for giving you shit, even though it feels so awful sometimes. You have to trust him. And that's what's beautiful about it, because now I'm able to trust other people with my vulnerabilities, that they will not judge me, that they will not look down upon me. Why? Because I am human. You are human. We all have these parts of ourselves that we think are unworthy of being seen, but I promise you, once you let yourself be seen by others, better things will come into your life because you are being more authentic. you're so unashamed to show up as yourself in however that looks. And that will attract the most aligned things in your life, the most aligned people in your life. So keep on doing that. Okay, finally, this is just a bonus tip, but trying to experience new cultures. This can tremendously bring you out of your hyper-independence. Why I think this is because if you live in the United States, I've only been to certain places, so I don't want to generalize, but from my experience in most places, the energy does feel a little bit restricted, in the sense that it feels like you forget how to talk to people. So it feels very masculine, and I think it's because the US culture, it's very masculine for the most part. Like, we are a capitalist society, and so we are just constantly in productivity mode. And now that we have our phones, we can just be working online all the time, and we are constantly just worried about ourselves, our lives. That can become very hyper independent, and it can reflect on outwards. And when I visited Mexico and other Latin American countries, I just remember feeling the complete opposite of that. Like, people were just dancing together, they were singing, there was music playing all the time, people would offer to help, people would just come up to you and say hello, and it wouldn't be awkward. Like, people smile at you, people offer you water. It's so rich in life, it's so rich in feminine energy, it feels like, to me at least. And they're just so free. That's what it feels like to me. Like, I know it may vary from person to person, but from my experience in the US versus Mexico, the culture is very different. And so when I was traveling to these other countries, it really opened up my perspective. It opened up my outlook on life, on people, because I always used to think everyone is like every person in the US, where they're constantly in work mode, constantly fixated on what they're doing, a little bit closed off. When no, that's not how everyone is like. It is how a certain culture is like. And it's all about finding the culture that works for you, that you like the best. And for me, I happen to gravitate more towards the Latin culture, where it is exactly how I described it, because it feels better to me. It might not feel better to you, but it feels so loving to me and so feminine. So if you have the resources to travel, I would highly recommend that. All right, and that wraps up my video on hyperindependence and also a little bit of social anxiety. I hope that if you watched this and you're going through that right now, you took something from it. And I want you to know you should feel so proud of yourself for clicking on this video and watching it. I cannot express to you how hard it is to make the shift from hyperindependence and social anxiety to building more communities, building vulnerable relationships with your friends, your partner, your family. It's such a hard shift, but taking the first steps and doing it is acknowledging the fact that you struggle with this, which is you watching this video. The next step is doing all of those things that I just gave you, all of those steps, and actually putting them into place. So do not feel ashamed of however you feel, good or bad. Emotions aren't good or bad, but you are worthy of feeling however you want to feel. And people want to see every single side of you. Just keep on telling yourself that, keep on putting in the work, and watch how your life changes. Okay? I love you all. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.